Okay, so what is accounting? Really, accounting is like a system of keeping track of information. We're measuring the activities of the business, what is going in and out of it, what it has, what it owns, who it owes money to. Um, we're going to take that information, we're going to create reports out of it, okay? Because it's like taking raw data and then you're like compiling that into a summary. Okay, so we have the raw data. We need to figure out something is happening in the real world to our business. How do we put that into our accounting system? Then we have this series of raw data that exists of all the transactions. We then take that raw data and format it into a report, and that these reports are what we share with people. Okay, so we don't share the raw data, right? Because that's going to be too much information for people. They're not going to know context. We're going to take that raw data and turn it into a report, and that report is what people are going to use to kind of understand our business and what our own internal employees and managers are going to use to understand their business. There are, again, many different types of transactions, many different things that happen to your business. And we need a set of rules as to how to translate that real life thing and translate it into our accounting system. Okay, so we are going to define a certain language around this. Our language in America is called US GAAP. It's a set of rules and standards that we use. Any company in America that kind of wants to present its financial statements in the American accounting language is going to follow US GAAP. There's also different types of accounting, right? We have tax accounting. We'll talk about this in a second, but we have to have some set of rules, okay? And in financial accounting, we have US GAAP. When you take managerial accounting, there will be another set of rules, okay? Because uh, financial accounting, and we're going to talk about this in a second, it's made for a different audience than managerial accounting. Okay, so maybe that's a good uh, transition to the next slide here. So financial accounting, which is what this class is, it's made for third parties. Okay, this is accounting that we are gonna tailor in order to uh, communicate information about our business to third parties. Okay, so what are those third parties? Who are they? Investors, lenders. Okay, these are people that are outside of our business that care about our business. Why does an investor care about the the happenings of a business? Anyone have any suggestions? Yeah. So if you're an investor that's betting against the company, you want to know. But in most cases, if you're an investor, you want to know whether your investment is worth making, right? So you need to know something about the business, right? A lender too. Before you lend to a company, you're probably going to want to know: uh, is the business profitable? Can the business pay us back? Uh, how do you figure that out? It's going to be through the information, the reports that you get out of a financial accounting system. Managerial accounting is for internal decision makers. Okay, so if you're running a business, the nature of your inquiry into your business is different. You're going to ask different kinds of questions. For example, how much should I budget to expand into this new market? Or should we expand at all? Is it worth creating this new product? Uh, or a question like, how much should I price this item I'm trying to sell? Right? These are very different class of questions, and it requires a different kind of analysis that you're going to learn in the next class after this, which is managerial accounting. Tax accounting is for the purpose of paying taxes. Okay? It has its own set of rules made by the IRS. made by state governments, local governments. They all are going to have their own rules about how to take the events, the transactions that a business is kind of subject to, and deciding how much tax they're gonna that business is gonna owe. Okay, so that is a totally different set of rules and regulations. Okay, so each of these is kind of different. Okay, so again, this class is focused on uh, this part here. Okay, this is our class, financial accounting. Okay, so you're gonna be in the shoes of the company, and you're going to be creating the reports that external parties are going to want to see. Okay, and so you're going to have to know what rules are governing this particular aspect of accounting. Okay, and that's what this class is about. Now, why is this important? um, it's not only important for you as the business who's presenting, but if you are an investor, okay, if you are a lender, if you work uh, at an like a if you work at a hedge fund or something, okay, or like an investment firm, or if you're uh, someone involved, like even in your personal lives, okay, if you're trying to invest in a company, buy a stock in something, you want to understand what the company is doing in terms of its business, right? Not just, a lot of people just invest on vibes and like what their friends are doing and whatever. But if you want to up that game, you should be able to read financial statements yourself. Okay, so some people do this as a profession, right? They're professional investors. But yeah, I'd say this class for sure is like universally used in the business world. Managerial is less so, but I think the concepts that you'll learn in that class are like very applicable to like your general kind of business careers. And then tax, I think, is a much more specialized thing. If you wanted to go into accounting and like um, you know, that's like a specialized, much more specialized kind of undertaking. Okay, but these two classes, this class and 187, I think are like kind of core classes that you'll need to understand. I think conceptually, the next like managerial is important too. Maybe not the specific skills you learn there, but the concepts. But this class, I think, is just like you need to walk away from this class understanding financial statements. That's like that should be a target for you all, that you should all at the end of this class feel comfortable about knowing what the financial statements are and like what they're saying to a basic degree. It will take a lifetime for you to become truly masters and like understand all the nuances and have that really solidified framework. But this is just going to be this is like the kindergarten. Everyone starts at the kindergarten level, and it's nothing wrong with that. We all did. Okay. Um, so again, who is using financial accounting information? If you own stock in a company, you're gonna want to know how your company is doing, how your investment is doing. And maybe if you only got like 10 shares of, Tesla, 10 is, it's like $3,000. If you got 10 shares of some company and, a couple $1,000 invested, maybe you don't care. But if you ever work as an asset manager, okay, you're gonna own millions of dollars of this stuff, okay? Or if you're working at a hedge fund or private equity or something, if your job is to invest in a business, you're gonna want to know how that investment is doing, okay? And so you're gonna be reading the financial statements. You're gonna be tracking your investment, okay? So shareholders are gonna definitely want to keep track of this. Lenders, if you're lending money to someone, to some business, you're going to want to know how they're doing. You want to make sure that your loans aren't going bad. Okay, you want to be on alert when you start to see things deteriorating in the business, which you can see if you're an astute reader of financial statements. You can see the cracks forming in a business. Okay, and as a lender, then you want to maybe get out of that loan. If you're a bond investor, you want to sell that bond ahead of time. Okay. Um, Labor unions, why do they want to know how business is doing? Who is the labor union negotiating against? These two are kind of negotiating, right? The labor union is trying to negotiate with the owners. I mean, it's really the owners are represented. We'll see this in a second. The owners are represented by the manager of the company, right? So the labor union is negotiating against essentially the owners, right, to get their piece of the pie, right? So in order to know how big the pie is, they're going to read the financial statements and they're going to see how profitable the company is, right? That will just show how much of the pie they can try to get for themselves. Okay, so they're going to be looking, and there's a lot of businesses that are very dependent on union labor, like GM, the automakers. Uh, they're going to be figuring out ways in the financial statements to minimize how much profit they show. And there's ways to do that. We're going to see uh, ways that you can make accounting decisions to actually show less profit. And this is one incentive. What's the other big incentive? I guess it's not directly related to this, but why would a company want to minimize the amount of profit they show? What's another reason? Yeah, exactly, taxes. Okay, so but that's a tax accounting. That's different set of rules. But yeah, that's another reason why you would want to minimize your profitability, at least on your financial statements. The government. This is, I guess, another reason why you want to minimize your profitability. What is the government? Why do they care about how a business is doing? What's the job of the government? Yeah, yeah, to regulate, right? Exactly. So uh, we have antitrust laws in this country. A business cannot form a monopoly or like have a strict controlling interest in any market. So if a business does have that, you're going to see that as like large amount of profit, right? Um, but the government is watching. They should. You can argue if you take the cynical take that well the business kind of runs the government. That's like there's a feasible argument for that. They spend a lot of money trying to make their case to the people running government that they're good actors and the regulation should not hurt them. But theoretically, the government should care about how businesses are doing because their job is to regulate them. Again, managerial accounting, you can see it's all these internal departments within a company, right? Operations, the budgeting function, HR, the executives, marketing. Okay, all these people, they're going to be asking different questions about the business than external investors or lenders or whatever. Okay, and again, these questions, the framework to answer them is the next class after this. Okay, but I think it's good to know that these different schools of accounting exist. Okay, we're trying to kind of give you some background context, and we're gonna, of course, go into the details.